Hi, Tammy. Hope you're well.
Hey, Sid, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks to yourself. Hope South Africa is treating you well. I'm still awaiting your darshan in Durban.
Yes, yes, next week. Hopefully, as we say in the East, inshallah, all will go well. Yeah, I'll be down in Durban next week.
Awesome. All right, as usual, it's always a pleasure to have you on, especially for today's chat, especially on an interesting topic, healing your money mindset. Oh, I think that's your phone.
Yeah, I just put it off. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
no worries.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Can you hear me still?
yeah, I can hear you all as well. I can hear you. Okay, Tammy, to get the ball rolling with you is. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
So, how does our upbringing and early experiences shape our relationship with money and wealth?
Oh, I'm not really a fundi on the financial stuff, and but from my, I will give you my view and
Yeah.
how I motivate and mentor other people. So our relationship with money is largely shaped around our childhood, through what we see, what we hear, our experiences, like family habits, especially like when you were little and times when we were growing up, there was often, a single income household. There wasn't always enough money to go around. You hear sometimes your mother saying, "No, we don't have enough money for that," or like
Mm,
if you want a Christmas present, or something in general. So it's family habits. You copy. You will find this as well. Sometimes you would think, you would say things and you sound exactly like your dad. You sound
mm,
exactly like your mom. Um, so too comes with our emotions, the stress, the reward, the conflict around money. It creates that lasting feelings as we grow up. And our it becomes almost like our belief. I call it the BS, which is our belief system. So
okay.
sometimes you grow up with that scarcity mindset, or either that wealth from an early age. And I've seen it with people that were in my standard in my last year, where some had that scarcity mindset and continued with that, and some who had grown up in business homes that are still businessmen today, that have like grown in leaps and bounds. So it's those that patterns that are studied, the behavioral patterns, emotional patterns that tend to stick with you into childhood. But it's there's nothing impossible. You actually can change that narrative. You can change that mindset once you become aware of it.
Yeah, that's true. What are some common limiting beliefs people carry about money without even realizing it?
So often, money. It's I would say it's like hidden scripts that you generally grow up with, and that quietly shapes your decisions. In the background. And some of the most common things I would say is money is scarce.
Mm,
Which leads to like a fear-based decisions, and then you have this hoarding mentality. Like what do you call, like bulk buying. What if mentality.
mm,
Some people would have the saying like, "Ah, I'm just bad with money." So it
mm,
becomes like this self-fulfilling identity that prevents you from learning and improving yourself around money. And you hear things as you go up, like even from your grandparents, where they say rich people are greedy or they're unethical, and it creates that internal conflict with you, I would say. And it sits in the subconscious all the time. So the only way to actually get out of that is once you identify that, yes, I do have the scarcity mindset, and you need to change that around. And even when you have that negative feeling, that negative thought, change it immediately with three positive thoughts. Um, it's like also like where you say, "Oh, if I had more money, it will fix all my problems." and that's not the way to go. Sometimes how often have you heard of a person winning the lottery and they actually win of worse than where they were at because they don't know how to deal with the large amounts of money. Also, you get some people that say, "I don't deserve wealth," often rooted in their upbringing, in their self worth, where I would say it's like almost like a self sabotage. Where
Mm,
it's like, I'm not worthy of, I'm less than. It's those sort of thinking. Also, talking about money, sometimes people feel that it's rude or it's shameful. And like I know, like even in the work environment, it's taboo to actually well, it's actually not ethical to ask, what are you earning, and so forth. And then it's that deep ingrained sort of sayings that go, if I have money, I'll lose it anyway. It creates these patterns of overspending, poor financial decisions. So these beliefs become a big focus in behavioral economics, and they actually operate as a subconscious level and influence how people earn, how they spend, how you save, and becoming aware of this negative talk, I would say, is your first step in changing it.
that's so true. All right, I've got two comment questions here for you. Actually, let me just try and. Oh, sorry. Let me just open the first part. First part here is from Jitin Rishika. Hi, Tammy. It's breaking the barrier with poverty. Money serves as a lifeline right now. If you honestly earn it, goes a long way. And then I'll go to the next part. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, the next part is how does one budget and so-called stretch their money?
So, my son, thank you, Jitin Reshika, for the question. My son just entered the workforce, right? And I would suggest we need to teach budgeting skills. We need to teach children from a very young age how to control money, how to manage money. And a lot of people would give their child probably their allowance. I mean, back in the day we used to call it tuck money, where on a
Mm,
Friday my sons never really liked what was at the tuck shop, but I would give them an allowance every week and they would budget their monies. And I've had two distinct opposites. The one son, one bang, his money was gone. And the other one, he would say, Mom, I prefer the food that you pack for me rather than what's in the tuck shop. And he would
mm,
give me at the end of the month, he would give me his all the allowance for the month, and he would say, Mom, can you put it into my bank account? And so it's teaching them that budgeting, as I mentioned, he's new into the workforce now. If I can advise any young adult to live within your means, if you can live on half your salary a month, that is one of the most fantastic things to do. The other thing is, we live to impress other people, which is the worst thing that you
mm,
can do. Whether you have a Hermes Birkin on your hand, or whether you have a, I don't even know whether you have a bag from Edgar's, it doesn't really matter. It serves the same purpose. It carries your stuff. Whether you have a Hublot or whether you have a Casio, it doesn't really matter. It still tells you the time. So people are all about the name and the fame and living up to other people's expectations of them, which is such a no thing to do. It's who are you impressing? You're not impressing people that are above you, that are a bit above average from you. You are impressing the lower end people. Why do you need to do that? If you like, even in a work situation, and I've seen this and I'm mentioning this quite blatantly, that all the Indian boys had these fancy souped up lowered cars with the back tail fin, the BMWs and the Audi Quattros and you name it. But the other people at a higher earning capacity would just have a simple run of your mill car that would take them from A to B.
Mm,
We, especially with the Indian community, I've noticed this, where people live up to the impression, or they want to create this impression. Why? I would say take that money, save it, and go and visit places around the world. Go and experience different cultures. Don't put it in a car is a temporary thing.
mm,
You cannot invest in a car. We need to change our advice to our children as to what they drive, why they drive certain things, and get that mentality out of the way that, okay, if I drive a BM, I'm accepted, or if I drive a Mercedes, I've arrived. No, it's not that. It's you need to be practical and understand that, and budget your money. And I noticed a lot of the people, even people that I counsel, a lot of the people actually live beyond their means. They live living from paycheck to paycheck, which is the worst thing that you can do, because you don't build up that nest egg. I know some people say, oh yeah, with the economy, with the way South Africa is going, how can you save? Try to lower what you're doing, how your lifestyle. I know of a very affluent person that actually left corporate and went to go and buy a house in a very fancy area. If my house currently was in that area, I will get 5 times the price for this house. But it's the area. It's like, oh, I am from this area. Why are you living? It's like really living up to the Jones, and you don't need to do that. Look within your pockets. The often the negative connotation is that, you want to impress these people, but they couldn't care, any less about what you drive or who you are. Yeah, I would say invest in your education, invest in yourself. Always better yourself. What you drive doesn't make you. Where you live doesn't make you. I hope that
yeah,
answered.
yeah, yeah. I think it's becoming a bit more of a vanity thing nowadays.
Absolutely. Most certainly.
How can someone identify and begin to heal unhealthy emotional patterns connected to finances?
So I would say it comes with awareness, right? So notice the triggers, um, when you're feeling stress, when there's guilt or avoidance around money. Notice how your relationship. Often, like when I'm doing my classes as well, you get that pit, you get that uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach, and there's so many triggers around money. Like if you've got a back pain is feeling unsupported, or like if you are the pillar in the family, you the strength, you generally have the different areas of your back actually show you how these emotional triggers affect certain things. And if somebody has a neck pain, it's like owing money. If a lower back pain, so there's different areas, and you need to spot your belief. So write down thoughts like, when you say money is scarce, or I'm bad with money, look at what your trigger thoughts are, and then you work from them. So what I do is I do a timeline walk as well, where I take you back in time. I literally walk on the grass with you. I take you back in time, and we go and heal certain areas of your life that had this scarcity mindset. Mine was, I'm sharing openly, mine was when I was 3 years old. And I think it wasn't even the Barbie doll. I think it was a Cindy doll that made its debut, and I wanted that doll. And my mother, I didn't have a dad. It was a single income household. And my mother said, we don't really have the money for that now. Maybe at a later stage, we could look at something. So you need to trace the origin of where the scarcity mindset comes from. Um, like my mother telling me at 3 years old. I don't remember what happened at 3 years old, but that scarcity mindset came from the time I was 3 years old, where I was told we cannot afford the doll. It's those sort of things. So, what you need to do is when you identify where that's come from, you trace the origin and then you work on it. It's past experiences, it's often linked to childhood, and then you
Yeah.
challenge them. Ask yourself, is this true? And replace it immediately with a healthy belief that um, uh, something that I often say, money comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a regular basis. So you change the narrative about that. Take small actions. I always say daily deliberate actions leads to your goal. So track your spending, save a little here, save a little there, and builds that confidence gradually. And even I'm saying, like you think your savings and you put away something, you become aware. This process often leads to, I would say, like a cathartic financial therapy almost. And it helps you to turn the unconscious patterns into conscious, healthier habits. So when you, at the end of the month, if you said, okay, I was deliberate, I was diligent, and I did this, I put away, reward yourself with a coffee, reward yourself with maybe if you I'm not one for eating out. My kids prefer, because I cook healthy meals, but sometimes reward yourself maybe with an ice cream or
Mm.
your favorite chocolate. It doesn't have to be something
Grand.
la-di-da and elaborate. A simple
Mm.
thing to say, well done. Just pat yourself on the shoulder, well done. And you'll notice how you break that chain, you break that pattern, and you become more financial savvy.
Yeah, I guess it's about keeping things in moderation and being balanced.
Absolutely.
Do you believe financial struggles are more about external circumstances or your internal mindset or a combination of both?
I would say it's definitely a combination of both, but it's not equal in every situation. Certain external influences affect certain ones, certain times. Internal influences, affect certain other circumstances. So it's more, I would say, it's like your income level, your job opportunities, the cost of living, also access to education, I would say networking, access to your financial tools, the financial know-hows, and you also gotta get the certain ones, the inequality that we have here in South Africa. My friend is in the Netherlands, and they have something called the equalitarian, where everybody earns, whether you're a plumber or a doctor, everybody earns the same, and it's called
Oh,
equalitarian. Yeah, it's called equalitarian. And a lot of the people, when they find out that, my colleague is doing the same job as me but earning like three times the salary. Remember, before, back in the day, it was also very much a racial thing,
yeah.
where the certain colors would earn the more salary and so forth. So when people actually become aware of these things as well, it's like a huge, I would say, like a huge shock to them. And some people take it and they change it to their benefit, and some people actually go into this shock, and that's when they backtrack into this negative mindset. Also being targeting themselves to say, oh, I'm born in this race, or I'm born in this culture, and maybe if I was born a different color. So, it's much of a muchness, where it's like the external factors and then the internal factors. If you have a strong mindset and you have that willingness to learn, to plan, to grow, to adapt, you can change that negative connotations around money, around financial planning. And as I said, your BS, your belief system, you take a grounded view, you look at your mind approach, make healthier decisions. With everybody didn't wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but you can change that. So you can think, circumstances are your playing field basically, but it's your mindset, how you play the game. That's what counts.
Yeah, I think it's become, I think people end up having this victim complex thing. I don't know if you agree with that.
Absolutely correct. 100% with that. Some people will have that victim mentality and they will backtrack because they feel that, my grandfather didn't leave me an estate or my father didn't leave me something. Whereas the other person would look at it and say, how can I change this?
Hmm.
How can I change it to, there's an old saying as well. If you're born poor, it's not your fault. If you die
Yeah,
poor, you're stupid. So it's
exactly.
you get people that sort of wallow in that negativity and
Hmm.
say it's like almost like an entitlement, I would say,
Hmm.
where they want, it's the want. But then you get the other person who would pick up and say, okay, how can I better myself? How can I be a better version of myself financially? And look at things of improving their financial wealth, investing. No matter how small it is, put away, always have a nest egg, put away for something. I can give you a personal example where um, I I don't never had a lot, but I had a little nest egg put away, and there were families in COVID that really needed help and medication that were not on medical aid, and I thought to myself, if I was in that situation, what would I have done? And I actually dived into my nest egg and I helped people. The blessing, I didn't get anything in return, but I got blessings in return where those people are alive today because and money is, it's a commodity. People tend to hold on to this. I do the tarot as well. So there's one card that comes into my mind, which is it's called the miser, where it's a picture of a witch holding on to a whole lot of jewels and diamonds and wealth, right? And you see the witch is absolutely ugly, and like she's like dark in complexion. So when you hold on too tightly onto your wealth, onto your riches without giving, you tend to become ugly. You tend to become more, I would say, like the miser effect. It's like you over catering or over worrying about your retirement, what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised, and we forget to live in the present. So, yeah, if people kind of come away from that negative mindset, and I've been on a few courses and I teach, the old system of the jar system,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
you try to live on 50% of your salary, and then you give 10% to charity. Of that 10% of your earnings, you divide it into three portions. If you've got parents living, your biggest blessing is coming, especially in the Hindu culture, your biggest blessing is coming from your parents. Even if you take 100 rand and give it to your parents and get their blessings, then you would give maybe to the car guards or to people in need, even your helper. I know, like my helper's child sometimes would need something, and I would buy the stationery or do something, give it to somebody in need. And the third portion of that 10%, I would keep it in my car. When I need to do a donation of some sort, or when I need to just when I see somebody at the traffic light or the car guards, that's where that third portion goes to for the month. And if there's anything remaining from that money at the end of the month, I would take that, I would buy a Coke and I'd buy a pie, and I'd give it to sometimes three, four, five car guards. And it's just something of giving back.
Awesome. What practical steps can people take to shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset?
So I would say, like I mentioned previously, awareness. When you catch that thought immediately, notice that. there's not enough, thinking and reframe it. I have abundance. Immediately, even if people say I can't lie to myself, but do it. You need to change that narrative, and that's the only way that you're going to change that is I don't have enough, or I'm not enough. Change it immediately. I'm abundant. I always have more than enough. Change it immediately. And then focus on what this is something I'm very, very I preach almost every day is be grateful. Be grateful for what you have, your skills, your income, your opportunities, for getting up. You know, people will say, "Oh, I'm grateful for going on an overseas holiday." No, be grateful for the little things in life. Having clothes to wear, having technology. I can speak to you. We're 600 kilometers apart, but I'm still speaking to you. Simple things where you can be grateful. And when you do this, the more you are grateful, the more you will have to be grateful for. The other thing I would say as well, take small actions in saving, learning, improving one habit at a time. You don't have to say, okay, now I want to save. I know people that have been taught this from their parents, you know, the old the envelope system. I know one of my friends, her dad worked in a hotel, and he got paid on a weekly basis with those little brown envelopes. And she actually saved those, and she used the same system. She would have the money for the gardener, the money for the helper, the money for groceries. She'd put it in these same envelopes. And she says, "That's what I was taught. Yes, I know we are so far from where we've come." And so now everything's electronic. You can create the same thing on your bank account. Create these sub accounts and put money in there, and take those are the small steps, the small actions that you can save, learn, and improve from. And a big no-no for me is stop comparing. Stay
Mm.
focused on your own path. You, if your friend has bought a brand new BMW and souped it up or whatever, good luck to him. You don't need to live up to the Jones. If you've got a Toyota Corolla or a Polo Vivo, it's taking you from A to B.
Mm.
You don't need to live up to, stop comparing yourself to those people. And there's a lot of, I do a lot of money habits. So, like when you're paying with money, right? Even if you're paying with a card, you say, "This money is coming back to me." I pay with a smile. This money is coming back to me tenfold. Even I said to you, the one biggest thing that I say is give 10%. If you can't afford 10%, do 5%. A lot of people say, "Oh, no, I can't afford to feed myself. How can I give?" A simple thing like giving, you're buying a loaf of bread, take one slice of the bread and feed the birds. Spend intentionally, align your money with what actually matters. Um, I was very guilty. At one stage, I would go into a store, and if I liked something, be it a shoe or a dress, I would take one in the six colors that they have or the four colors that they have. And when COVID hit, I didn't use my heels. I had top brand heels. I didn't use my heels for over 2 years. And then I thought to myself,
Wow.
we live to impress other people. And I've come a long way from that. If like, if I go to an Indian function, uh, I would see, if I had to wear an Indian traditional outfit, I wouldn't mind using something that I used 5 times before. Is somebody going to chase me? Is somebody going to point a finger? That's your problem. If you're uncomfortable with me, it doesn't make a difference in my life. I don't mind wearing it 5 times over. It's still good. It still looks good. I'm decent. I'm appropriately dressed for the occasion. No, I promise you, nobody would. Yes, even if they do mention, it will be like a little gossip. So what? Other people, we need to stop living our lives to please other people. And the other point I would say is invest in growth, build your skills, build your earning potential. The shift. from the emotional and the behavioral patterns. Notice that shift, and it's about moving away from a sense of fear to a sense of control. I've got this, and you will see how your mindset changes around finances.
So true. Finally, how can someone align their financial goals with their values to create both wealth and fulfillment?
So I would say, firstly, if it's around values and fulfillment, I would say know your values. What actually matters to you, be it freedom, family, growth, status, and most of the time, the status is ego driven. We need to kill off that ego, that overinflated ego, and stop living someone else's life. Stay in your lane. Also, link your goals to your values, where you turn each goal or each value into a financial goal. Write down, go old school, write down your things. If you want to go modern, you've got a notes function on your phone. Put down things on your phone. Sometimes you might have you spending coffee, you're having coffee with a friend, and you have this brilliant aha moment of a side hustle. Sometimes human nature, we forget. Use the notes function on your phone, make notes on your phone, and turn that into baby steps. Turn that into a money generating machine for you. Also, align your spending. Spend more on what matters, less than what doesn't matter. I always say, is it a need or is it a want? Do you really
Mm.
need it or is it a want? And if it's a necessity, yes, you'd understand. But if it's a want, it's a nice to have. Why do you need it? Who are you impressing? Do you need to impress anybody? Um, Also, like I mentioned, with from the old envelope system of saving, everything's automated now. Go link your bank accounts, link savings accounts to this. Even if you put away 1 rand from whatever it is you're earning, whatever income you're getting, 1 rand or 5 rand, it's a start. Do something like that. I always say the daily deliberate action leads to your fulfillment. And review regularly, adjust life changes, become aware of where you are. And I know some people have like vices, where you have alcohol or smoking and so forth. So if you have to say you smoke a packet a day, right? Take 2 cigarettes out of that packet, put it in a little container, and do like a saving thing. You'll find that at the end of the week, you've got what, 14 more cigarettes to smoke. If you're doing this on a simple thing like that of cutting down. I'm not saying stopping, but changing that habit. When you come to the end of the week and you realize that, oh wow, I've got a whole full packet that I can smoke, you know, it uh, it stretches you a little bit longer. So this is why I say review regularly. Review these things of, oh, okay, you've come to the end of the week and now you've got this. But don't go and spend it all now. Put it away and think the next week you go, wow, I've got double. And what that tends to do is it tends to get you to add more to it. It's like, you also become more, you become a bit more frugal in your spending. And you tend to weigh up options of, as I mentioned, the nice to have and the want. So this approach, I would say, is more like financial therapy, and it helps you to support both wealth and that fulfillment. Like I said, you come to the end of the week and you go, oh, wow. And you actually pat yourself in the back and you say, I can do this. And I
Mm.
have done this previously. I've done it for overseas holidays. I've done it for things that, that I've really wanted. I'm not a name brand person. So you won't finding me splashing out on money on a name brand. If I have to wear a famous name brand, and if I had to wear just a simple T-shirt, it's covering my body. I am not paying. I've got this. I do have name brand stuff, but it was all stuff that were gifted to me. I've
Oh,
I go around the world, and I often get gifts when I do my talks, when I do my presentations. The companies even give me gifts, and most often they name brand stuff. I do not buy a name brand because I feel, unless I'm having a collab and the person, it's promoting a brand, then by all means I will use your brand. But I ain't paying to advertise your name.
of
That's
course.
my thing about it. And if you look at a what is a local store here, like Pick and Pay clothing, they have some stunning clothing. So I'm not getting paid for this or anything, but I'm just giving you an idea. You do a shirt from Pick and Pay, and then you go with one of the name brands, the large name brands. It serves the same purpose,
Mm,
whether you buy gym gear at Pick and Pay, or whether you buy it from one of the like in Total Sports, using one of the name brands there, it's serving the same purpose. Why do you have to show off somebody's tick or somebody's star or whatever it is? Are they paying you for that? If they're paying you, good on you. You go for it. But value your options and value your integrity, and what is it that fulfills you.
yeah, that's so true, and I couldn't have agreed with you more on that. So, as usual, thanks so much for your time, Tammy, and I will get to finally see you next week in person.
Yes, absolutely. Love and light to all the viewers, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Likewise.
Take care.